Hey everybody, just doing a sort of hobby haul video. I don't do these too often, but I've been doing so much purchasing since the beginning of the year, and some of it I've shown. Like I've shown the Rumble Slam and some of the Drop Fleet stuff, and even a box in the book for Silver Bayonet. But I thought I might do just a little bit of a quick hobby haul of just stuff that I've purchased, and then just upcoming projects that either relate to this or don't. And then also, I just wanted to quickly mention that we do have a Musty Wargamers this week live over at Rusty's channel, Hellcorrex. If you guys are interested in attending live, we have topics related to historical, how you play your historical games, miniature games, both in whether you like to do scenarios versus generic tournament sort of, or points match play, or as well how accurate historical games are being made to accurately represent actual history versus being facilitated for the game. And so yeah, just stop over there if you want to join in the chat and hang out live. And so yeah, so as far as the stuff that I've purchased recently, I mentioned that I had done the Rumble Slam and the Drop Fleet, and I've been painting that and playing that already, games of that, so that's been good. It's not just completely been on the dead pile. And this isn't really in order, but some of the stuff that I've actually picked up recently is more Silver Bayonet stuff. So I actually have a starter box, which is the second box for the Russians, and in order to be able to play the game, I did end up picking up these Revenants. And so you do need a fair bit of monsters, and I am doing some stuff just through 3D printing, but I love metal miniatures, and I do like to support companies that are supporting these games. So these are actually kind of cool. Looking at it with the naked eye here, you do have just, you know, these kind of zombies, but they're like in Napoleonic time uniforms, which is actually cool. This was a must-buy for me. I also got some vampires. There we go. Vampires, Silver Bayonet. And there's a male and a female sort of styled vampire. And they've got, you know, they look like they're aristocracy. It's kind of hard to show her face with the way, there we go, where the way that it's this time, but you can see that she's in this fancy dress, and you can see him. He looks kind of like Mozart or something there, but he's a vampire. And so I thought that was really cool to fit with the Napoleonic theme. And then lastly, these guys are actually really cool, and of course they're all facing the wrong way, but I've got a bunch of goblins that are all in Napoleonic or colonial Napoleonic sort of dress. And so, yeah, can't do too much eye candy with these ones because of the way they're in the blister there. I ended up getting because I like the look of the miniatures for the first box so much, or the second box that I had. I got the original box of the Russian unit, and these. The thing about Silver Bayonet is they're all like characters essentially in your, I guess, paranormal investigation type war bands that go out looking for I don't know, it's kind of like, in my mind, a bit like the X-Files for like the Napoleonic times. They're basically looking for paranormal activity and anything that might advantage their nation, because they're set up by nations, and then you do compete with other nations and fight against them, as well as all anything you might come up against. And so you see here there's a champion of the faith, which is like a priest, and then you actually have a werebear, which is this guy here. And like this is an officer here, you know, you've got a rifleman, you know, we've got an infantryman, a veteran hunter, and these have character classes that are in the game. This is a light cavalryman. And then this one here is a supernatural investigator. She looks kind of a little bit like a witch, kind of. And so there is kind of magic in the game and stuff, too. So this will be a lot of fun. I am enjoying the look of the North Star miniatures. And so happy to actually paint some of those up. So now, one of the things that I most recently purchased is these are battle cruisers, so they're larger ships for my Scourge fleet, because I'm caught up on all my Scourge fleet painting. I haven't done any of the UCM or the humans, but I am playing more of the Scourge, and I probably want to play them at a larger point game before I start using another army. The thing that's kind of nice, these are resin miniatures. I do like TT Combat's resin, but they actually have 2 options for each ship. And although I've talked in the past about how I usually don't like to magnetize heavily, because the look of this one, it looks like it's primarily one piece that you're magnetizing to make the differences between them, I may actually magnetize these so I get the use of 4 different battle cruisers. Because it looks to me like these 2 are the same, and it's just like this fin on the top is like a different fin, and it's faced kind of oppositely. And then down here, well, over here I should say, it looks to me like the main difference is actually just this piece on the top, where these look like fighter bays and these look like lasers, but essentially I think it'll be just really just putting one piece down with a magnet and just flipping them on and off. And so I may magnetize these and go against what I normally said. But these will be bigger ships than I have currently and cost more points in the game and be a bit more devastating, and so that's kind of cool. Couple of little hobby related things that I got. For those of you that were on the last Musty Wargamers show, Tim had recommended these, which for painting, we had a show on painting, and we were talking about palettes and stuff, and what I typically use is just something like this. I just use like what you would get at like a normal Michaels, and I just put aluminum foil on them. But he talked about this and how you can actually just, when the paint dries, pop this out and they come out. And it basically does. Sometimes if you have a wetter paint that takes longer to dry, it may, in my experience so far, take a little longer where you can just pop it out. But you have plenty of welds to work with, and then like you're not really wasting anything. As you can see, when it dries here, it just comes right off by just rubbing my finger here. Normally, by changing the shape of it and popping it like this, it allows you to peel off most of it, which is kind of cool. So I wanted to try that. So that's a recommendation from Tim. And so, yeah. And then another hobbying thing is I did, unfortunately, break apart on my airbrush. I have a standard airbrush, like a Pache Talon, which I use, and I've been using more again. This detail brush became my main brush even just for miniatures, because at a 0.2, I find for small miniatures, it just seems to be a great sweet spot to be able to work at. I think I have it right here. This is this brush right here. And as much as I would have loved to just order the part I broke, what I ended up doing, I'm going to have to change doing this, but what I typically do when I airbrush historically is to maintain the keeping the paint off the needle and any sort of clogging that might happen. I always kind of like to go like this and just twist it a little bit and just give it a bit of a shake. And so I end up working most of the time with my brush like this. Well, stupidly, I dropped my brush and it fell and it hit the floor, not on the needle, which like needle head, which you would think would be the worst thing, but it fell directly down like this, and it hit this, and it went through and basically broke the nozzle inside on my needle. And it seems in order to replace it, it's more than half the price of the airbrush, probably not even including shipping. It's just really hard to actually replace this because it's a Japanese brush, and there wasn't really anywhere in the US that had an affordable way for me to fix it. So what I ended up doing is just purchasing another one. In general, Canadian, like not even US, this one's just, around 125 bucks. Not the most expensive airbrush out there, but by far one of the better ones I've used. And for those of you who are wondering, this is the Mr. Hobby 0.2. It's called the Mr. Hobby Procon Boy is the name of it. So if you're looking for it, It is the Mr. Hobby Pro Convoy, and this is the 0.2. And I've loved this airbrush. Now, I've used airbrushes in the past, and I've learned over the years about how not to ruin them. I've ruined airbrushes, even ones that are not cheap, more expensive than this, on my first airbrush. Basically, though, this has been my favorite airbrush that I've owned, probably, I would say. And so I was really disappointed when I broke it, and I decided to replace it outright and go with, not try a different one, but go with the same one that I really liked. Got a couple things here for Marvel Crisis Protocol, but I'll mention real quick here that there was a sale from a place in Canada. This is one of those things where a store had basically what appeared to be a 75% off sale when you were actually looking at the numbers. And so one thing that I'd never purchased, but I have, many of you know, quite a collection for, is Star Wars Armada. And there was a Corellian Conflict campaign expansion. And I haven't even opened it yet, but it's to allow you to play campaigns. And it gives you more ways to play. It gives you kind of cards that you don't have to facilitate that. Probably more missions, it looks like, and things, as well as a campaign tracker and all kinds of stuff. I got this fairly cheap because it was like 75% off, and because they're really not, Armada's kind of going by the wayside. Since I have a big collection, I'm not even planning a game of Armada right now, but it's just, I put it right into the cart and bought this. And from the same place, there were two other things that were really cheap. This was like less than 10 Canadian, and it was She-Hulk, who I don't have, and so I thought that would be a cool character to add to my Crisis Protocol collection, and so I have some She-Hulk there. And then lastly, this is normally really quite expensive. I mean, it was showing Canadian-wise upwards of $89 regular price, but I got this for 25 bucks Canadian. So for those of you that are wondering, that's like less than 20 bucks US, and it's a really large kit for Doctor Strange's house, and the Sanctum Sanctorium terrain pack, and it even has a couple of extras like some street signs and stop signs and mailboxes and newspaper stuff, as well as the actual Sanctorium itself, which looks really cool. For those of you that have seen my my superhero board game or miniature game board that I use, it's styled after the Spider-Man cartoon from the late 60s, and so it's a very, I would say, like pastel, bright, monotone kind of look. I'm likely going to, despite the fact that this is more detailed than the buildings I have on the board currently, I'm going to likely try to match it, and that's going to be the challenge of the project, is to try to make this look as if it was in the Spider-Man cartoon in the late 60s. So even though there's some extra details like that don't appear on some of the other terrain, like all these lamps and some of this detail, I'm still going to try to paint it a little bit more comic style, cartoon like, and a little bit less weathered, if that makes sense. Bit brighter and something that would fit in well on that board. So that's sort of what I've got going on as far as what I've been purchasing. I typically pride myself in trying not to purchase a lot of stuff, but the year 2025 has been very different for me. Like, after doing a lot of Warhammer Fantasy for a while and sticking with stuff that I'd collected over the years and not doing new games, I've join friends in playing new games, and even just purchasing stuff for older games that I still like, that I want to play again in the future. As far as future projects going, like, I'm still painting for Warhammer Fantasy. I've got miniature on the go that I've showed. I'm really actually, in the gaming sense, outside of Drop Fleet and Rumble Slam, and then the upcoming Silver Bayonet, outside of those, which are things that I've more recently purchased, I'm looking at playing Advanced Dungeons & Dragons battle systems, which I showed in a prior video, in 15 mil metals, and then and those are things that I've not purchased for this. I've had them for years. And then also not Sharp Practice, Test of Honor 2. I have a friend that wants to play that again, and I've painted up miniatures for that, but I have lots more to paint. And so these are older purchases that I'm pulling out of the lead pile to play games again that I like. And so lots of gaming planned, and yeah, so having fun with the hobby right now. I hope you guys are too. And hope you guys' week is going well, and talk to you later.